and welcome back to On the Couch with Hannah. Today we have another friend here to talk to me about climate change and his opinions of things in the Western Sydney area. So, friend of mine, you have been living in Western Sydney for...
Best part of 30 years.
So, you have some idea of what it's actually looked like around here in that time. In those years, how do you think climate change has affected the people living here?
I think it's changed the weather patterns a bit. Our average temperatures are going up. We've had odd or unusual rainfall patterns. So we've had out of season heavy rains, 2022, I think it was, when we had the 3 floods in a year.
Oh yeah.
And that affects all of Western Sydney because the Hawkesbury-Nepean River system runs through southwest, western, northwestern Sydney. So those are some of the things that we as Western Sydney or Greater Western Sydney are dealing with that is not directly impacting other areas of Sydney. And being where we are in areas that are suburban and a mix of rural and semi-rural areas, it affects the different people to different extents because they're different. So, the farmers are being affected more by the changing weather patterns. The people in the suburbs aren't affected in the same ways, but they're still dealing with higher temperatures and the different pressures of trying to keep cooling and heating and all these sorts of things going.
Yeah. So with all of those different kinds of impacts, do you think that Western Sydney is prepared for the challenges that it faces when it comes to climate change and how that's increasing and changing, especially with the new developments?
I actually think the new developments are more prepared than the older areas. Depending on which new developments you're in, the newer ones seem to be being built with conscious efforts and strategies in place to better face and tackle those climate issues. For instance, having to have lighter coloured roofs and things like that. So those areas are better prepared. If you're living in some of the older areas, it can really depend on what style of house you're in or which particular area, because there was no conscious strategies or thought for climate change when those areas were being built.
No mandates
on colours and insulation and heating and cooling and plants. So you have areas where there's very little green cover versus the new developments where there is a larger area put aside and there are mandates for green cover, things like that.
Okay. What do you think are probably the most immediate effects that you've noticed in Western Sydney? Things that have happened to you even?
Increasing in the cost of certain things. Aircon, power, food. The cost of food has been going up.
Yeah, because the extreme weather changes has meant.
Yeah, so at the moment, we see it all the time in Australia. There's no stranger to it. Every time there's been a cyclone or something hit Queensland, the price of bananas goes up, the price of mangoes goes up, anything like that. But now you're seeing different industries and different food types being affected by climate pressures. So they're increasing the price of those. The other thing is, for good sides of it, you've got more and more solar power going in. So just about every single house that is being built now has solar panels on it. Lots and lots of older homes are having solar panels put in.
We do have those government initiatives that actually give the rebate for the solar panels.
Yeah, but a lot of those are coming to an end too, so there's less support or less incentive now for fitting solar panels, and then also the energy companies are trying to work out how they fit the solar generation into their networks, because the networks aren't set up for solar generation feeding back in. They're all set up to generate power and send it out to homes, businesses and whatnot. So there are a lot of flow-on effects and different aspects to be covered.
Yeah, this is one of those things where global warming and climate change is called a wicked problem because it has so many different aspects of it. It's not recycling is going to fix it. It's not planting trees is going to fix it. It's not the government putting in taxes for emissions, all that sort of stuff. No one thing's going to actually fix it. So,
well, recycling is another one. Recycling and green waste. We've always had it around here for as far as I know, but I'm not sure about other areas of Western Sydney. But there's a big push at the moment about homes having FOGO bins, so green waste, food and organics, and garden organics bins, and then a bigger push on more recyclable materials and encouraging people to recycle.
So there's actually a profession or discipline we call garbageology, where people are actually using not architect, what's the word? Archaeology, using that sort of those skills to go through our landfill and see different trends for how we are currently living. There have been a few different studies done on it. There was one in the UK done a little while ago that showed that household waste, probably 90% of it is going to landfill, but about 60% is recyclable or compostable, and it's just not happening. So there is definitely there's indicators where people's knowledge and people's actions are just not aligning there for stuff like that. What sort of challenges do you think that climate change will pose to the residents of Western Sydney in the future, if we've got these new developments coming in, trying to adapt to all of that and mitigate it?
As far as the developments go, I think it'll be keeping it going, like not letting it become complacent about it and think that we're doing enough, or we're doing the best we can.
Like the solar rebate stuff coming to an end.
Yeah, or
what's the next push?
Yeah, so there should be something else. What's the next thing? What's the next part of that plan? And then also continued developments on better insulation or better ways to build a house, or better. What are the best colours for your exterior to keep it cool and keep it warm when it needs to be? I think for the residents, I think for a lot of people, climate change is such a big thing, and when you ask them how it affects them personally, it always comes back to money. So the cost of things and the cost of doing the right thing, or doing what the experts in the government and environmental groups tell us is the right thing, versus what you are able to do, what you have the means to do. And also getting people to make changes is always hard, but getting people to make changes when it's more work is even harder.
Yeah.
So that's probably where a lot of your recycled materials and compostable materials going into green landfill is coming from, is that it's just too hard to know what you can and can't, or it's too hard to have the extra bins and have to do the sorting.
Yeah.
So
I had someone bring up another point to me recently about the fact that we have a lot more apartment housing in units and whatnot, so they don't have gardens very much. And so the idea of composting is just not going to happen for them, because what's the point? I'm going to have this bin on my kitchen bench, going to put all the compost stuff in it, and then what am I doing with it? So it's just not a feasible thing for a lot of people living in the area.
Yeah, and that's not just limited to Western Sydney or even Sydney.
Yeah.
I lived in an apartment in Melbourne for a couple of years, and there was no green waste bins anywhere in the surrounding suburb. It was just recycling and landfill.
Yeah.
There was no compost, there was no green waste, there was no incentive for that. So even if you did have a little garden or you were cleaning up around the house, it just went into, you either had to take it to the tip yourself or you just cut it up and put it in your red bin.
Yeah.
So
these are sort of ideas that the individuals can do, but what about local council or government initiatives that you've seen in the area that you think are addressing climate change that are actually effective, or what do you think might be more effective?
As far as current initiatives and things, I think having the council programs for increasing garden, like green space and increasing the native plants
Yes,
population.
because there are a few councils around here that offer a free native tree to plant on your front curb
Yep.
nature strip
Yep.
if you apply. So we do have some initiatives like that.
Yes, so increasing the native plants in your gardens, natives being more suited to this climate, or picking plants, if you don't particularly want natives, picking plants from similar climates around the world. South Africa seems to be a pretty good
Stuff that'll
Analog.
grow well with,
stuff that'll grow well here with
without
little
using
water.
more water. Yeah.
But the natives are good because that then has your knock-on effects of more bees, or especially the native bees and native birds, and just
Better
native-
for the environment.
better for the
if we're
environment.
adding to what
Yeah.
the environment already is.
yes. Water saving initiatives. So coming back to the new developments, I'm pretty sure it's just about every new house that's built is built with a water tank.
Rainwater tank.
So using rainwater where you can and when you can for things like watering your garden, washing your car, washing your driveway, those sorts of things. So you're not using treated town water where it doesn't need to be. And I think the biggest push that will help a lot of people will be something around reducing that financial burden on the individual residents in being able to take part in these initiatives, or just handle the effects of climate change on them themselves. So reducing, which is not just local government, it's more state and federal government as well, but
Like
what
the
you can do,
energy
energy rebates, reducing that cost of energy, reducing the cost of living, and in that too is, if we're going to be looking at increasing green area and green coverage, yes, you want trees because they provide shade and shelter for birds and wildlife. Yes, you want bushes with flowers in it because they look good, everyone likes them, they are good
for the bees.
so do the bees, so you get more pollination. But incentives or programs to push for using some of our green space for small scale food production, I think. Community farms. So one of the local councils around here has a community farm. You can be a member of it. You go and help. You have your little garden plot and you can grow your own plants, veggies, whatever. But having that scale up, or more of them around the council areas, so that, you're never going to completely replace the food that you're going to be buying from supermarkets, and we're not saying you should, because whether it's supermarkets or your local grocers and everything, it's supporting the farmers and small businesses,
but subsidising it a little bit
Yes.
so that it's easier for
yeah,
the
and
lower
also,
income.
yeah, and also engaging the population and the residents with where their food's coming from and what it takes to grow food in that way.
It grows knowledge.
Yeah, it grows knowledge and it grows that connection with nature and how the world works, so that people have a better idea of their impact on the world and nature and the environment when they're going about everything else that they're doing.
That's all very interesting and good connections there. I just have one more thing, and that is, are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future of Western Sydney in the face of climate change? Do you think we're handling it right? Do you think we got a lot to learn?
I think we've always got a lot to learn. There are a lot smarter people than me working on the scientific research of it. But there's so many different factors, and there's small scale and large scale. So for the councils and the government, there's going to be large scale impacts that they need to look at and address, such as when we had all those floods. So how do they manage and mitigate floods? How do they manage the water for Warragamba Dam as it comes into the river system and when we have those flooding events? And how do they prepare the local population and residents in those areas, especially in the northwestern area around the Hawkesbury, because there are a lot of those low-lying areas that are heavily populated. So what do the councils do? Working with the residents, what's the priority? And I mean, everybody, councils, government, the residents, there's only such a pool of money. You got to work out where you're going to put that resource. But I think no matter which way you go about it, as long as the councils are constantly looking at the best way, and even if they can't agree, as long as they are trying to address what is the best way. So
any effort toward addressing it is better than ignoring it.
Yeah, and I am optimistic about Western Sydney's position going forward, because there seems to be a lot more focus and development in Western Sydney. So you've got a bigger push for public transport to reduce reliance on cars. You've got this push for sustainable and more eco-friendly housing. You've got a push for more jobs in Western Sydney, whether that's services or industry or administration and office jobs, moving them out of just the CBD of Sydney and into Western Sydney, closer to where a lot of the population lives and works. So you don't have that travel is going to be better for the people in general, being able to spend more time with their families and less time, energy and emissions coming from transport. So I think it's good. I think we're on the right track. It's just a matter of not getting to the point where people start to think it's too hard and when nothing we're doing is going to actually make a difference anyway.
Okay. Good thoughts.
Good thoughts.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Bye.
Yay!
Run away!